Good morning and welcome to Queening with the Empress, and I'm your host, Patience Phiri. I attended last week for Women's Day. I attended a Women's Day conference, and it was hosted by Transparency International Zimbabwe. And they had this document. It was very interesting, the findings that they had. It's called Gender and Corruption in Zimbabwe 2019. It was so interesting, the stuff that I heard there, and I thought it's only fair to share it with you, my friends. And stepping into my kingdom today, I have Marilyn, Sibanda, and Thubelihle Ncube, who are coming in to talk at length about this because they are coming from Transparency International Zimbabwe. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
Okay. Let's start. This document. What is corruption? Let's start there.
Okay. Tina, as an institution, we have defined the corruption as the abuse of entrusted power for private gain. So, Peshi, we have a position like right now, and you abuse it. I'll give an example. Let's say Sibanda, a city council, and then I want to pay for something, and then you tell me, if you don't want to pay, you have to bribe, or something like that. I've abused my position, my entrusted position, for my private gain. That is what corruption is.
Okay. And then what is gendered corruption, Tuma?
Gendered corruption, it's now we're looking at corruption in two phases, corruption affecting women and corruption affecting men. We are grouping it like specifically according to gender.
Okay. And then do women suffer the impact of corruption more than men?
Yeah, I would say they do, because women are the ones are more active, who like their traditional role as caregivers. They are more active, more lively, daily life of things that happen every day, like going to the hospitals, taking kids to school, making household payments, and so forth and so forth. So they're the ones who are usually exposed to offices that might open up gaps for them to be extorted.
Okay. When I read this, and when we spoke about it at the conference, you guys highlighted points, 10 points that stood out. But my question was, which women did you include in this research? Were they types of women? Were they classes of women? Which women were included in this?
Okay, so when we were doing the research, we tried to include women in rural communities, in urban communities, in peri-urban, in women in all walks of life, so that we can maybe get accurate results, so that it doesn't become one-sided or biased. So we're trying to include everyone.
Okay. Right. So what were the findings? We spoke about 10 talking points at the conference. And would you share?
Okay, I think it cracks in Galarata and Kona, Owapumayo pet is that women make up most of the population. And in that we make up the most number of impoverished people in the world. And for us to access services now, because of corruption, you have to pay. Whether it's through a bribe or through sexual favors, you have to pay to access services. So all mama are now paying to access services. Bribes, whatever service that you want to access, you have to pay. And the price of complying is actually higher than not bribing. So that is the crux of our our research. And women are found to pay with their bodies, sexual favors, because we make up most impoverished people, less educated.
That is where the word sextortion came in.
Yeah.
It was a word. Can you explain what sextortion is?
Sextortion is when sexual favors are given in turn for a service. So you find that maybe you want a job. In order to get that job, now you have to do a certain sexual favor for that person who's supposed to employ you. So basically that's sextortion. Instead of paying money, we are using sex as a form of currency in exchange for a service.
Okay. On that note, we'll take a quick break and we'll be back. Welcome back to Queening with the Empress, where I am talking to Thuba and Marilyn, who are here representing Transparency International Zimbabwe. We're talking about the Gendered Corruption Report for 2019. Like I said previously, I attended a conference and this report was being unveiled and talked about. So, continuing with what we're talking about sextortion, and you're saying it's how many women are paid. The one thing that was raised that was of interest at the conference was when they spoke about how women for the longest time used to be on the receiving end, but there were some women that said they are now also going in. I don't want to say perpetrators, but they're now actively involved in corruption. Have you seen, was that reflected here?
Yes, it was. What the report was saying, maybe what I can highlight from the report was saying that women, just because maybe we are more community orientated or got more ethics than men, when we are in positions of power, the probability of us actually committing corruption in man. And then we cited maybe examples where women, countries that are women-led, and the corruption in those countries is actually low compared to countries that are led by men. So that is our argument when it comes to. We're not saying women are not corrupt, but we're saying
we are not corrupt. We just facilitate. We just facilitate. Of note also was the conversation around the many terms of corruption. There was facilitation fees. I never thought that was a thing. There was the issue of nepotism, which raised a lot of conversation because many of us don't think of nepotism as a form of corruption until I think it was the PP who made a reference of how nepotism would affect an office, that if this was something after, then I have hired all my relatives. It means for that day or that week, the entire office is closed because we have to go for a funeral. What other forms of corruption are there that we are experiencing in Zimbabwe?
Okay, we have cited nepotism, we have cited bribery, we've cited sextortion. Just to highlight on sextortion, sextortion is not a criminal crime. It's not recognized, it's not there in the criminal codification because of the element of consent. We willing buyer, willing seller, so the consent throws away the criminal element of that particular crime. Yeah,
so there's no way to prove it. Transparency.
Yeah.
I can't say there
was consent involved. But what you can do at transparency when maybe and then I try and what you can do is you can report me human resources. Then there's a policy on sexual harassment, M17. So M17 they can either suspend me by torture or they do nothing, maybe more by boss. But it's just an internal remit as a panel.
And that depends on the organization also.
I'm an organization, and my policies are actually when it comes to sexual harassment.
Oh, okay. All right. Speaking about this report still, what was the attitude or the opinions of women before we talk about the ones at the conference, but the ones that you've interacted with and the ones that were part of this research? What did they think about gender corruption?
I think mostly in the web, reported in the sextortion, where 57% of the women who were surveyed said they were sextorted, and it was shocking. Which amongst the three of us, and my part were to me too. That's the attitude. Yes. Okay, this is so common. It's really happening. So people are really shocked with in danger. So or it has happened to someone else, or
There's even a case, Liana, I think it's some village somewhere, much west or somewhere, of this woman or the village headman was saying, if you want this piece of land, you have to do this. And you're thinking, it's something minor. The woman got Kivanga in, and she really was chased away from that area. So, like, it's happening. Simply, there are cases where sextortion is happening, but it's going unreported and unrecorded, and nothing is being done about it, but women are affected.
Okay, based on this was of great, I hope you can see it at home. Based on this, I want to find out the connection between corruption and gender-based violence, because on this chart you're explaining corruption. There's bribery, there's nepotism, there's facilitation payments, there's fraud, there's embezzlement, and there's extortion. Is there any link to gender-based violence? Because we know in cases where women, I'll say women, I'll speak for women in this one, can't even report because they feel that their partners or the perpetrators will go and pay facilitation fees for a file to disappear or the docket to grow wings. Is there a connection?
Okay, the connection is most women, when we did the survey, they're saying that I'm a perpetrators, but the problem is maybe sometimes you don't know how the law operates. When you go and report the charge sheet, what happens when someone is arrested, and then when someone is granted bail, because bail is a constitutional right in terms of Section 50. And then people, what do they allege? What is corruption, but he's entitled to bail. It's a constitutional right, and he made it bail. And so abantu bengabona so wenzenja, because we're receiving a lot of cases. At one point, I think that was in 2018, where people come to the office to report so I had to do a radio program on bail to explain what bail you will and that's all corruption. So the women who were surveyed, I think what they were alluding to is what bail, and it's a form of corruption. Yes, but if you know how the law operates, if you know what this is what is happening, it locates arrest within 48 hours before appearing in the court, in front of the court. State papers set down procedures and the chances of corruption happening because it are small, because your consequences follow up. But now I was, and you see him to say corruption.
Okay. Then I'll ask Utuba with everything that we read and we're hearing, and you're sharing this story about this woman. Can we trust the justice system?
I think, like, a rule of law, like, no one is above the law. Like, a constitution is there to guide everything. But no one is above the law. People should trust the law. The problem with us as citizens that saying I trust the law is because we don't know how the law operates or functions. Like Marilyn was saying, when you bail or Puma, we are thinking which there is something wrong going on with system. They are letting culprits or whatever go unpunished. But if you understand the whole process, even if you are accused, they have rights. Like look at my rights, okay, that to or claim my right to dignity, okay, right to whatsoever. If you understand that, you have that thing as I want to understand how the law functions. So, like, people should really trust the justice system. For me, like no one is above the law. If evidence is there, if there are facts or whatever that the law can use, case people just need to understand with about criminal cases. Maybe no bribe, what Criminal Codification Act. Like, it has to be proved beyond reasonable doubt. You don't just go into peering a figure, but you don't have proof, there's nothing. Then you expect court when there is no proof. Like,
so
get your facts right, like find your evidence, everything. If everything is put out clearly, like there's no way. But if there are those gaps and you just go there and you expect to service, it won't work because those people are proven beyond reasonable doubt.
Okay, just to add, I think maybe one factor ends up being a trust the justice system is impunity. We've got excellent legislation, except when was passing statutory instrument after statutory.
We do that very well.
But we've got excellent legislation, but when it comes to corruption, there's so much impunity going around. It's corona, it's all over the place, and so people do not trust the justice system. For great corruption or embezzlement, and then so you catch and release in case there are insufficient evidence. People lose confidence in the justice system. So I think one factor that fuels corruption is impunity, and trust the system to impunity as well. I think if our legislation implement our will, and people would have trust, and there will be reduced cases of corruption, because there was 50 million, and the law will work, and then in the end saying watch you and sentencing but 50 million.
I didn't want to be the one to say when you guys are talking about the law and how you have such belief in it and how we need to be. But once back when about 15 million, but rights, but says in Zimbabwe, but in catch and release when I do a so what's it to pay? She wear flapus. Nibuye ngizochoncha ikapule le. There's up to 20 years. So that is where I think abantu don't get it. And maybe where the trust is lost. Ukuthi omunye abe $20 sivala daily story. Udize ngcenye umuntu esithi cancel i2 cents. But ngapha umerage chama 15 billion. So how do we get people to understand? One, because your organization thrives for 0% corruption globally, not just in Zimbabwe, but globally. How will we get to that point? Will we ever get to that point?
I think getting to that point is, like I said, implementation of the law. If people start getting punished, not when a pet works or pet corruption, not receipt by $20 we want Lavana Abet Brain corruption. And would be impunity. And because we've got excellent systems, we've got an anti-corruption court, and I set up in 2018, we've got the therapy anti-corruption unit, ISAC, and our prosecutors, Lavanpe NPA, they're going to receive training and on using on how to handle corruption cases. So it's proposed to have a constitutional amendment to appoint a public prosecutor. So why are we not prosecuting? Why impunity? Impunity, I think it's really important.
And to add on to that, I remember that ZAC thing as I attended consultation for the national anti-corruption strategy. They mentioned this thing and they catch and release. People were like combating them with questions, which why are you arresting people today? The next thing bad release done, and they bakulumang a point on which ama cases now need to be proved done, and the Tinanapa service made a state, and the states all along. Maybe after being a trainer, they were not fully equipped to handle these cases. Because we've got 15 billion and we are higher like the best lawyers you can think of. And I'm not very that's the evidence that you have. And and I remember talking of proving something beyond like it's a balance of probabilities, proving beyond reasonable doubt. And then at the same time, National Prosecuting Authority was saying there is need for people to understand media is playing a role in this whole thing. In case corner, they just got hold of something and they are still dealing with it. The media takes it out. So for this. Now they are waiting for each stage to act fast, but there are procedures that need to be followed. So the following day, about say so trying the catch and this game going on. When the same media you have the case then I futhi abazaphuma behle beqasa ubhalo ukuthi hayi ndibabakhupha shame there is catch and release going on or yet like nama procedures abelokelandelwa and we can't run away from the fact that those people they are hiring the best in the land. It is not equipped to handle that.
Ungakhangela prosecutor was in the forensic audit and was to very accounts vele trust account akwazi ukuthi nge-forensic auditing financial wathi ngawubona iledger kumbe i-balance sheet vele njengami personal numbers intimidate.
Yeah, siyafana numbers are not afraid. Okay, so to the person watching at home, if they're faced with a situation to bribe, be it at a roadblock, is it at home for a service delivery, for anything, what should they do? What would you advise them to do?
I'll give an example. Here roadblock. Pet, when I'm roadblock, the police something that show me your license. And when I very full, you're not even supposed to show that person license. You're supposed to. So
afana into ibambe esandleni njengoba siyavula phela iwindi
ezethatha ipholisa lihambe
okay
maybe ithathe fake ewindini
so I should display not hand over.
The only time you get to hand over your license is when there's a reasonable suspicion which when you're under investigation or there's a crime that you committed or whatever, but you're not supposed to. So the moment people know their rights and or maybe license in conference, you've got a certain period of time that can make you present it. But when evidence is already and people are not complying. If you comply, because you know your rights, and then you reduce the corruption, you mitigate corruption. So I'm saying, I'm just giving an example in a block, people should know their rights. Even if I'm a city council, okay, the process of 30 stand and but you see, we're waiting for a moment to be 30,000 but that is not the process. You consider when you understand. Yeah, well, if you know your rights, pay institution, okay, a passport office needs so. I think.
So nxa kungathiwa ngidize ngifonela ubani, who do I call, what do I do? Do I call you guys? Do you have a hotline number? Do I take a picture? Do I blast it on social media? What do I do? Or do I just pay and just keep it moving?
No, you can report. Now we can assist Abantu to reporting the corruption. Slama offices at So what we've been doing to when people come to the office and say we need case change. So we report, we refer, and mesotherapy, anti-corruption unit to report, assist you to report that case, and then make follow-ups with those relevant institutions. With okay, case pet, we am is and so that people know their rights. And to help you.
Okay. Are whistleblowers in our society, in our country, safe?
No.
Sadly, no.
Our whistleblower protection act or whistleblower protection mechanisms are common. And you see, I'll be victimized. With
all your information out.
Zimbabwe is the only institution that provides whistleblower protection and incentivizes our whistleblowers. Okay, if you're going to report in case maybe a 20 million transparency somewhere, and if that case is successfully proven in court, you get a certain percentage
from what they've recovered or what they. Okay. But it's not safe.
It's not safe. So that victims and witnesses of corruption still serve.
That's why in many cases you find you want to bring something up. Also, maybe you investigate. I can't do this anymore because victimization, and so forth and so forth because of that thing. So I think he gave a corner that corruption cases are going unreported because people buy what will happen after Marilyn finds out who to make her So
a classic case maybe and while disease. And so I said, no, okay, we can go with your Gwanda, Lama Policy Anti-Corruption Unit or Lezard. And then we lay a trap and see what he bribe in.
That's a Wednesday.
And then he calls and says, but then I'm now scared because one time is impound that then you're going to assassinate someone. So you see, corruption affects our livelihoods.
After all is said and done, as TIZ, what are your recommendations based on this? What are your recommendations?
Okay, first recommendation is indaba extortion. Apart from okay, I think we need to stand up against this extortion. Secondly, we need to lobby and petition the parliament to say, but hi, umuntu ethethe i-consent ngendlela wasebenzisa i-position undue influence or duress, and that is not proper consent. We want extortion to be criminalized, even though there is consent. Consent is not properly obtained.
There are countries where they have already criminalized sextortion.
Like Rwanda, Kenya.
They've criminalized it. You can do it as well.
Okay.
So we can lobby. We want to lobby. Also, we want to educate women about their rights. Train them. Now, city council stands. Now, we saw police that mitigates corruption. Also, encourage people to report, even when you whistleblower protection act, even though we impunity. That will try our best to make sure which justice is served.
Okay. We'll be right back. Queening with the Empress.
Boy.
So what's my royal take on corruption, gender corruption, everything that I've heard today? I read this, I attended the conference, and I've listened to Marilyn and Ncube talk. I think corruption is a thing, and there's classes of corruption. There's people that do small. I was told that there's no small corruption, but there are people that have smaller cases, and they end up paying for them. And then there are people that have bigger cases, and we see them walking on the streets. So I say it's because they've got great lawyers and they know how to work the system, and I guess the rest of us asikwazi how to get great lawyers and things like that. But then, should the law not be for everyone? There shouldn't be anyone above the law. Everyone that does something that is against the law, that goes against the Constitution, that does everything that's wrong, should be made to pay. And then when it comes to sextortion, when does it stop? And if the person is making you pay with your body, how many others have paid? We are living in a time of HIV and AIDS. So what does that mean? Who's now at risk? And that worries me. And then women are slowly, I like women to climb the ladder, but women's numbers in these cases are slowly climbing. I don't think that's the kind of ladder that I want us to climb as women. Where do we report? They just say to us there is no safety for whistleblowers. So should we just keep quiet and suffer quietly and just pay whoever comes to demand money? But when do we stop? Asila mali. Umthuli uyasithathela imali zethu for this reason or the other. So how do we pay? I don't want to pay with my body. I don't want to pay with my money. So will we ever get to a 0% corruption state? I don't know. I don't really trust the people that are in power, especially when it comes to corruption cases. I think I've read a lot, and based on this report, my heart breaks. My heart breaks. Based on this report, my heart breaks, because there's still a lot of work to be done. Anyway, thank you for watching Queening with the Empress. Remember, you can like, follow, share on all sites, ZW, social media platforms. From me this week, thank you for watching. Bye.